Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Dear Esther, Part 2. If you haven't seen the first part, please head back onto the YouTube channel and grab the first part, as the second part won't make much sense without it. This game is an experience of a journey across an island, and slowly the storyline and the identity of the individual involved slowly are revealed. So to recap, we appear to be a mysterious narrator. We have travelled our way across the island through the day under the caves, and by night we have come out to this beach. We seem to be heading to the tower over there in the distance, and our letters to dear Esther now float in the sea in front of us. This seems to be our final journey, perhaps even our final resting place. We have injured our leg very badly while we were scrabbling around on the rocks. But we seem to be, beyond that, kind of cursed and infected. On a sudden light from heaven shone around them, and he fell to the ground. Some eggs surrounded by candles, perhaps the first sign of new life we've actually had in this place. It would seem that there is only really one route to go, which is back up those stairs. But I just want to come over and have another look at these boats. The letters to Esther, floating out in the sea. There's a couple all the way out there as well. And the stars and the moon reflected in the ocean. But with all these candles around, there really must have been someone here far sooner to this time than it initially appears. Again, the detail on the cliffs is... and the stairs now as well, look. It's quite phenomenal. Especially as this apparently this started off life as a mod on another game. I'm not actually sure which game that was. I wonder if now we will be approaching that huge beacon, or whether there will be another detour. I wouldn't mind another huge detour if it's as spectacular as that caves one. Is that the day?
Pain in my leg sent me blind for a few minutes as I struggled up the cliff path. I swallowed another handful of painkillers, and now I feel almost lucid. The island around me has retreated to a hazed distance, whilst the moon appears to have descended into my palm to guide me. I can see a thick black line of infection reaching for my heart from the waistband of my trousers. Through the fugue, it's all the world like the path I have cut from the lowlands towards the aerial.
Ability to move. Swallowing huge amounts of painkillers. Is that a figure? Look, just there by the there's a fire in the distance with something standing next to it. Maybe we're not alone. Maybe we're about to discover who lit all these candles. It didn't even occur to me there might be someone else around here. I was assuming this is going to be some, like, you know, silent journey. I'm sure that's a figure. There's definitely something in the mist by that fire. Maybe they will answer some of the questions about what's happened here and who we are and what this infection is, or something. But I'm not going to.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
There's no one here. It was definitely this candle, wasn't it? I swear we saw someone here. Unless it's the painkillers again. Can we now see a figure further up? I don't know. I don't know if I imagined that, or it was just one of the objects here, kind of looking kind of figurine. And as he was proceeding on his journey, says the notes on the wall. Very symbolic language, you know, the idea, me on one side of the paper, you side on the other. It could be a reference to the afterlife, a poetic way of talking about death, perhaps. It's somewhere either a choir or the voices in my head continue to speak. And neither did he eat or drink.
He would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
Strange red light. A one candle would not give out that much light. I can't work out if that's just the game being artistic or whether it's supposed to be a representation of the blur which is coming from swallowing handful of after handful to painkillers. But one thing's for sure. We are getting closer to the beacon.
Bent back like a nail, like a hangnail, like a drowning man clung onto the wheel, drunk and spiraled, washed onto the lost shore under a moon as fractured as a shattered wing. We cleave, we are flight and suspended. These wretched painkillers, this form inconstant. I will take flight. I will take flight.
Candles and markings fading into one another. Electricity, science, biology, the symbols are hard to tell, hard to read. Danger. Authorized personnel only. It's a strange island, isn't it? I mean, this is definitely modern. This is not a completely abandoned island for like hundreds and thousands of years, and yet we've come across untouched caves and everything's lit by candle rather than by electricity. Dear, this path is eroding away, and the moon huge in the sky as we get closer and closer to the top. I can't read this without being further away. I'm sure it's not going to be comforting though.
He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all. He had not drunk with Donnelly or spat Jakobsen back at the sea. He had not careered across the lost shores and terminal beaches of this nascent archipelago. He did not intend his bonnet to be crumpled like a spent tissue by the impact. His windscreen was not star-studded all over like a map of the heavens. His paintwork etched with circuit diagrams, strange fish to call the gulls away. The phosphorescence of the skid marks lighting the M5 all the way from Exeter to Damascus.
I wonder if he is I wonder if we're talking about ourselves in the third person. I wonder if we are the driver of the other car. And Esther is a girl that perhaps we never knew, because he hasn't really talked about Esther as a wife or anything, just simply Dear Esther. Could it be that we were the other driver in the other car, and therefore we've come here for some kind of redemption or finality to it? Because in those lines there saying he was not drunk, he was not this, he was not that, but it sounded desperate. So perhaps it refers to ourselves. Damascus. Damascus is a city in the Bible. Paul, the prophet Paul, travelled from, I think it was Damascus to Jericho. I don't know if there's other stories that it appears in, but... Or was it the Good Samaritan also involved Damascus, I think, that story. But either way, the reference was something to do with the journey.
Trails in the air, white lines etched into these rocks.
He talks about white lines in the rocks when he mentions death.
Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We have always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
And our shadow is that of a bird. The final boat.
Come back.
So that, I assume, was Dear Esther. Did we jump or did we fly? Did we soar or did we die? Perhaps impossible to tell. But as the screen fades to black, I guess those questions that were asked will never be answered. Possibly we are a ghost. Possibly we were the driver. Possibly we were the victim. I think the story seems to suggest, though, that through a mixture of regret and remorse we came this way. And that's it. That is all we can do. The story fades to black as we soar across the letters to Esther. So I think the story is complete. Very intriguing and a very, very interesting journey from start to finish, from a simple lighthouse on a cliff face to a flight across the sea. I do hope you enjoyed watching Dear Esther with me this morning. Definitely one to remember and one to debate. I did read in the introductory thing that apparently if you play again, each journey is different and has different elements to it. I'm quite intrigued by that. I might go and reread the store page and see what it says about that, to see in what ways it kind of changes and things like that. But I do hope you found that a bit of a different experience. And if you did like it, then don't forget to follow and subscribe to the channel, and give the video a like if you have done so. And I will see you soon for the next game. Take care. Bye bye.